from frustration to rage to despair and resignation. For those commuting on the MBTA, or at least trying to, the slow disintegration of service in recent weeks has made life miserable. The Red Line was down for the count again today as the T continues cleaning out snow and ice-clogged tracks. Riders on the Braintree branch stood in long lines waiting for buses, and there's no end in sight.
It's immensely frustrating.
This has been like this for 3 weeks.
What are you going to do? You know, just try to do your best.
I can't even be mad anymore. It's just, this is what it is.
Governor Baker spoke about the issue earlier today, and despite several questions about the long-term future of the T, the governor repeatedly said his focus is on where we are right now.
I said before that one of the issues I wanted to take up with the MBTA once we got past the snow issues and the service recovery stuff was all the issues associated with asset maintenance and management. That continues to be my goal. But in the short term, the very short term, our primary focus is going to be on what are we going to do today to move toward getting the system back online tomorrow and the day after and the day after.
T General Manager Beverly Scott said yesterday that it could be a month until service returns to normal. For more on how to fix the ailing T, I'm joined by Rick Dimino, Boston's former transportation commissioner and now CEO of A Better City, and Paul Diego Craney, the executive director of the Mass Fiscal Alliance. So what do you say? Can you guys fix it for us here today?
Yeah, we got a magic wand right
Excellent.
here in the back
Glad to hear it. All right, first off, are you two both T riders? I got to get that on the table right away.
No.
Not a T rider? No. Okay, how about you, Paul?
Not often.
All right, with that caveat, what was your reaction when you heard Beverly Scott say this could take a month to fix?
So, unacceptable. Really just basically not acceptable. The economy really counts on the T functioning. We have 60% of the people coming into the workforce of Boston using the T every day. Right now, that's been a significant challenge. To take 30 days, there's only so much working from home you can do before that starts affecting the bottom line. So there's huge economic costs with that type of timetable, and we need to be really focused on getting it done sooner.
Okay, Paul, how about you? 30 days, reasonable?
It's disappointing. I mean, we're going into the month of February into March. We know it's winter in Massachusetts. We know snow is going to fall on the ground. We should be able to anticipate snow falling and how to remove it.
So do you two, given that you're both very down on this 30-day figure, do you not believe, Beverly Scott, that there is so much work to be done that it simply could take that long physically? I mean, do you think that it's a failure of leadership or a failure of execution or a failure of allocation of resources or something like that?
Well, I really think that there's this is one of those circumstances where it's got to be given 110% focus, and it needs to be an action plan, and we need to draw upon all the resources that are surrounding us in terms of other systems, et cetera, to bring the equipment in. And, you know, obviously there's been some use of the National Guard in our highway system. Maybe we should be focusing on some of that on our transit system. I'd like to see just a kind of all-out effort, as Governor Baker was saying today. The focus of his administration, the focus of the DOT needs to be getting that system open as soon as possible, and I think there's more that they can be doing.
Let me ask you about some comments that Stan Rosenberg, the Senate president, made today during a press conference. He invoked Tocqueville and said, basically, we want a better transportation system than we're willing to pay for. He also said that he doesn't think the public is going to want to invest in the T until significant reforms are made. Paul, let me start with you. Do you buy the Senate president's idea that we're not realistic when it comes to our expectations for the T?
Well, I think I agree with him when he said that the public is not willing to pay for more repairs for the T.
Reform before added financing. Okay, what about the we want a good T but we're not willing to pay for it piece?
Yeah, I agree with that.
You do agree with that? Okay, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's clear. I mean, over and over again, we see people reasonably asking for a high-quality world-class T, but sometimes they behave when the time comes to ask them to pay for it in a way that's inconsistent with that, like recently voting down the indexing ballot question.
I would also just interject, though. I mean, the T, if you look at other studies, like the Pioneer Institute's put out some pretty good studies on the T, there's a lot of funding there. There's a lot of money there. It's just how you use the money. And I think that's what the public kind of resents, is just throwing more money to prom doesn't necessarily reap the results you want.
Well, there's a $6 billion gap in the state of good repair at the T. I'm all for reform and definitely all for spending a tax dollar efficiently and effectively. But there's also the need to get more resources into the system to make it be live to the kind of standards that we want it to.
When you say there's a $6 billion gap, are you talking about the
State
debt
of good repair,
assumed?
just taking care of what we have.
Okay, so
there's
to
pension
get everything
reform,
up to
there's
snuff right
healthcare
now.
reform, there's I'm actually interested in people making a decent wage. I don't think that that's a real problem. I'm liking the fact that people can have a middle income if they're working for the T. So let's take that kind of Pioneer Institute analysis on the side, because that's debatable. I'm okay with people making a good wage here. What isn't debatable is, some of the systemic issues like the T changing their finance structure through legislative action and then saddling the T with huge debt service years ago and never dealing with it. Where the T is saddled with Commonwealth debt service, they're using all of their fair recovery ratio, fair revenues right now to pay just for the interest in their debt.
Okay, very briefly, starting with Paul and then closing with you, Rick. Give me one thing that we could do, the state could do, to help make the T significantly better in the years to come. One thing, briefly.
Bring it to receivership.
Receivership.
Get rid of the board they currently have, put it to receivership board. If you look at Chelsea and Springfield, these are cities in Massachusetts that had similar problems, and they put it into
School
receivership.
system, cities themselves. Okay.
Yeah, and they got themselves out of it.
Rick, how about you?
I think the board really doesn't have much power to begin with, so that's it's to actually take care of their debt service.
Okay.
To buy out
one-time infusion of cash,
and take the debt service that the Commonwealth put on their backs and take it away.
All right, Rick Domino, Paul Diego Craney, thank you both.
No problem. Thank you.